This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
There he is. How you feeling, baby? You feeling good? Feeling good?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent. Can't complain, obviously. And, I was talking about this earlier on the show that the Chiefs season is turning out to be like this. I don't know. It's like this, really like a beautiful turnaround. Let's just call it, because you start in what hell is, because the offense, you're still winning enough games and all that, but the offense is a struggle. Mahomes is super frustrated. There were moments in the middle of the season where he was openly frustrated with what's going on, and nobody can run a right route, nobody can catch the damn ball. And then all of a sudden now, Rashee Rice kind of grows up and becomes a force. And then Kelce now is, becoming a little bit more there all of a sudden. And, you've won 2 straight games in the playoffs. And a lot of that drama that was there and the concerns with the offense, there's still some concerns, but it's kind of been pleasantly alleviated with 2 victories and a road win, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, I think a few things have happened. I mean, they've played well defensively all year, although the Buffalo game was probably one of the worst games defensively they played. They found a way to stand up in the fourth quarter. But they've stopped just killing themselves with mistakes. I mean, in the last 2 games, they have not had one pre-snap penalty. Not one. They have not had a false start. They have not been off sides. They have not had a delayed game. They have not lined up illegally. That sounds elementary. They did that 4 or 5 times every single game this year. I mean, and even when they weren't taking penalties, they were laid out of the huddle. They were blowing timeouts. I mean, everything you could think of, they haven't done it. I knew they were going to win that game in Buffalo, and MVS caught that ball down the sideline. MVS hasn't caught a ball all season. I mean, I can't expect that was like the equivalent of me catching that ball this season. That he caught that, and then he caught another one.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was look. I think all that is part of it. They've pared down the offense. They've stopped rotating in all the receivers, and they've just been like, "Look, it's going to Rice, it's going to Kelce, it's going to Pacheco. Stop."
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much been it. And they find themselves back in the AFC title game for the 6th consecutive year.
And, one of the things that was, obviously hurting the Chiefs last week was the running game. That's the key this week, dude. That's the key this week. The Chiefs have the secondary to hang with their receivers. But if you don't stop this run, to me, that's where Buffalo and Josh Allen, see, that's where Ken Dorsey screwed up. Where Brian Daboll, we were all idiots, by the way, and I'm one of those idiots. Oh, Josh Allen runs too much and he takes too many hits, and he does. But guess what? It's the only way he can play the game, because he can't sit in the pocket to throw 40 times, because that's stupid on your part, because then he's going to make mistakes because he's not accurate enough on a consistent basis. You got to get the run game back involved. And that's exactly what Joe Brady did. And that's why Ken Dorsey got fired. Well, same thing here now. I give Todd Grungen. What's the offensive coordinator?
Todd Monken.
Monken, right. I give him a lot of credit where he dumbed down and simplified the passing game. It's not really a complicated passing game. They live off of yak, but the basis is that run. And the Chiefs, if you don't stop that running game, both quarterbacks and the running backs, it'll be a lot like Buffalo. It'll be a long freaking day this weekend for the Chiefs.
Yeah, it will be. It will be. I completely agree with you. Listen, I think so. It's funny, actually. I went into the Bills game saying on this show and everywhere else, the Chiefs have to stop the Bills from running the ball, and they have to be even in the turnover battle. And they didn't do either thing. They fumbled the ball out of the end zone because McCall Hardman had the ball 2 times in his hands, and he fumbled both times. And they gave up 182 rushing yards. And they won because they had the best offensive performance they've had all year long. Against Baltimore, I don't necessarily think they have to completely stop them from running the ball in the sense that Baltimore's going to run the ball some. I mean, they're the best rushing team in the league. They're going to get some yardage. But what I think what the Chiefs have to do in the game, they cannot let them rip off big runs. They've got to manage the game where
Got to get stops. Stops.
yeah, right. I mean, they're going to run a little bit, but you got to get them into 2nd and 8 here and there. And when you do that, you got to stop. That's when, when you get them to 3rd and 7, you have to get off the field. I mean, that's the key. I could be wrong because Spagnuolo is unpredictable. I think they're going to try to blitz him into oblivion.
Hell yeah, dude.
I think they're going to put 8 guys in the box. They're going to single him up on the outside, and they're just going to say, beat us.
And by the way, KC is one of the few teams, because Miami did it to him last year with Josh Boyer, where it was 0 blitz, and they went after him, and they didn't give him any time to think, and they shut him out in that second half, and they brought the house on him. And I thought that was, absolutely awesome when they were able to do that. But Miami really didn't have the secondary. They were kind of ballsy and gambling doing that.
Right.
KC has the secondary to take those gambles, and you can live with the results because there's a good chance that McDuffie and the boys are going to make a play or two.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs are going to relentlessly go after them. And I think it's going to be, look, they might hit us up for a couple of big plays in this game. Right. So be it. We'll live with the result because we're going to also get a bunch of negative plays out of it.
Exactly.
And we're going to force a few mistakes. And offensively, I'll say this about the Chiefs offensively, and I don't have the exact stat in front of me, so forgive me, I'm ballparking this a little bit. Mahomes in his career against number 1 ranked defenses is something like 8-1, and he averages 31 points per game. Like whenever they play defenses like this, they just smoke them. I honestly don't know what the rhyme or reason is for that. Maybe it's something with Andy and the way they call the game. I think when they have the ball, the big key is they've got to block Baltimore. And Baltimore is weird. They're number 1 this league in the league this year in sacks. They have 60 of them. The Chiefs are second with 57. Miami was 3rd. But the Chiefs are number 2 in pressure rate. The Ravens are 23rd. So it's weird. Like when Baltimore gets home, they bring you down. But they don't always get home. Now, if the Chiefs can block them and Mahomes has 2.5, 3 seconds to throw the ball, I mean, he's Mahomes. He's going to find somebody. I think it's a very interesting football game. I think it's going to be fairly low scoring. I think it's going to come down to the 4th quarter. The Chiefs are playing the best they've played all year long. It'll be interesting to see if that's enough against a Baltimore team that has been the best team in the AFC if you take the whole body of work. So it's a really interesting game. I am very much looking forward to it.
By the way, Pam Oliver reported what my hunch is. Do you believe any of that? Because you still think last week when we talked, you thought he would play out the 2 years. Pam Oliver says she thinks that he's going to retire after this season. That's what I think I think that's what Travis is going to do, bro. I think he's going to go get a regular life. So you still think he's going to play out the next year or two?
I do. I mean, he said like a week ago in a press conference that he's not even considering retiring, that he still loves playing. So, I mean, unless he's full of it, I think he's going to keep playing. I just think
I don't think he would mention it now that he would retire because it would create such a stink.
Sure.
It would be another storyline, and it's just not smart for him to do that right now to create that storyline. But I think he's going to go make babies with Taylor, bro.
He can do both.
Hey, by the way, does Jason normally go to his games like that?
Jason's gone to some of his games in the past, not shirtless in the box screaming, no, but he has.
No, you know what
he has. He's gone to some, like on bye weeks and stuff. He's gone to a handful of his games.
Playoff games like this.
Well, a lot of times the last couple of years, Jason's been.
Oh, he's been also in the playoffs too.
But he has had a few games where he's been there. If I remember correctly, I mean,
that's the only reason why I also thought of it. I go, man, his brother's there and celebrating and all that. I'm wondering, does his brother know something? And
if they win the Super Bowl, I'd be more inclined to say maybe he walks away.
Yeah.
he just loves it so much. I don't. I could be wrong. I mean, I think it's one of those things you never know. I do think he'll keep playing. I do, but I also think like we're within the range now that he's year to year here. I mean, I think he'll play his contract out, which is 2 more seasons. But listen, life changes quickly. Okay,
Yeah,
look
that guy will get an
right
announcer's. That guy will get an announcer's job.
Oh
in
God,
2 seconds.
yeah. I mean,
2
of
seconds.
course.
2 seconds. Not. I mean, the second he steps away, the networks are all knocking on his door right away, dude. So he'll be able to stay in the game, live his life, enjoy his wife, make some babies, and have some fun. I just see a guy that wants to be is getting humanized. That's all. But right now he's revitalized.
Right now he's
revitalized.
Right now he's on fire. So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. That's kind of quickly, but that's one of the other things that's been funny with this team. They're always such an emotional group. This season, they've had no emotion, none. I mean, they have been deader than dead on the sideline all year long. They look like they don't care at times.
Once you win championships, it's so. I'm sorry for my French out there. If you have the kids, earmuffs, it's so fucking hard to stay motivated. What Brady did is unheard of. That guy had the motivation to come back like a dog and come back like a dog and come back like it just, I saw it with the big 3 down here. You get bored of winning.
Yeah.
You get bored of the regular season. The Chiefs are bored of the regular season, dude.
Yeah,
it is. And maybe that's what we're watching now, that they're in the playoffs and they're like, okay, this is our time now.
Yeah, no, I think there's definitely truth to that. I mean, we've talked about that. But it's funny, like that Bills game, that's the most animated I've seen them in a long time. I mean, now part of that was, I think, there's been some stuff about maybe the fans were throwing snowballs at them throughout the second half or anything else. But I mean, they were
every time in the end zone, bro. Every play, there was like a snowball.
If you watch some of the videos of them on the sideline after Bass missed that kick, they weren't even celebrating on the field. They were turning around and just celebrating in the Bills fans' faces. I mean, they were waving goodbye and laughing. I mean, it was like they never do that. I mean, they're very into the game, but they're usually into the game with each other. I mean, they weren't even celebrating with each other. They were just all turning around. I mean, Mahomes was waving at the fans. Mahomes never does stuff like that. I mean, Kelce, sure. Kelce does.
But remember, this week is Deion Dawkins running his mouth. This is Mahomes has never won a road playoff game. So now you're trying to find a chink in the armor, trying to find something wrong with him now. He's the best player on the freaking planet. But you know what? He's not good enough to win a road playoff game. And so now you started to have like, so now you guys are going to start doubting us. Okay. So now you just gave them, Deion and everyone else giving the Chiefs bulletin board material, and it's like, bro, why do you do that? Why would you do that?
I gotta be honest, I've been shocked. I thought Baltimore, so well coached, such a good organization, like they wouldn't say anything, and like they've already had 2 guys who just couldn't help themselves this week. It's like, it's just, I mean, Kyle Van Noy saying that on McAfee show that Mahomes is nothing against Lamar. Okay, I mean,
Kyle Van Noy is a consistent moron, by the way.
Why, man? Why? Like if I'm John Harbaugh.
Right.
Like, why? Because you know in these games, like Mahomes is in that essence like Jordan. Like he will take anything and just it becomes. I mean, it's kind of like how Brady all those years they'd win a game in the playoffs and then he'd be interviewed by like Tracy Wolfson, like nobody thought we could win this game. Like it's the same kind of thing. Why would you go on a show like that and start talking about how Mahomes is nothing? You don't think they're going to hear that quote? You don't think they're going to play that clip? I mean, the Chiefs they will play all of that stuff on the flight out to Baltimore. Yeah. Like it's just now, look, doesn't mean they're going to win. No, but it doesn't help. It's not helping. Like if I'm them, the last thing I would do, I still to this day will contend. Last year when they played the Bengals in the AFC title game, that Burrowhead comment by Mike Hilton was the single most galvanizing force going into that game. That game to them was more, they will tell you, was more personal than any game they've played in the Mahomes era because of that. They wanted to go out and smoke them, and it took everything they had to win. But yeah, sometimes, why would you motivate a guy like that? Just sit there. Hey, yeah, he's great. He's great. We're going to have to play great. Just say the right thing and move on. Don't motivate the guy. They're already motivated enough. Don't make it personal.
Yeah, don't go after guys like that. It just makes
It's not
zero sense.
good.
It's just not smart. Um, America is rooting not for the Chiefs, not for the Ravens, not for the Niners. We're all rooting for the Lions because there
Yeah,
is no
sure.
fan base in the world that deserves more success and a championship more than the Lions. Now, the reality is they're playing the 49ers on the road, and their defense is suspect.
Yeah.
So you tell me, how the hell do the Lions pull this off?
Well, it starts with winning up front, right? I mean, it starts with the Lions have very good front four on defense, and they have a very good offensive line. Although Ragnow's beat up, it sounds like he's going to play. If you're Detroit, that's how you win this game. You find a way to curtail McCaffrey. I don't say shut him down; he's too good to be shut down. You curtail him, and you get pressure on Purdy. I mean, that to me is if you don't do that, you lose because your secondary is not good enough. Like they have given up the most air yards in the league this year. If you let Purdy sit back there, even without Debo, if he doesn't play, they got enough guys. Like they're just going to get open. And Purdy, if he's one thing, he is accurate. Like he'll hit him, and that'll just be that. So you got to win up front. On offensively, they're going to have to run the ball. They've got to run not even so much like for a ton of yardage, but enough that Goff can be Goff and he can just play point guard. Just out 7 yards to Amon-Ra, 8 yards to Laporta, and 6 yards to Jameson Williams on a bubble screen. If you can run the ball with Gibbs and Montgomery enough, you can do that. Now, if Goff is in one of these games where he's constantly got to make throws under duress, it's over. Like he's just not built to do that. I think that Detroit has a shot in the game. I will say I think the AFC game is much more of a coin flip than the NFC game. I mean, the Niners to me are the clear favorite. Where in the AFC, I think Baltimore is deservedly the favorite. I also think it's one of those games like how many people would really be surprised if the Chiefs win that game? I mean, would that many people really be shocked if Kansas City goes in there and win? I think people would be somewhat surprised if Detroit wins that game. But we saw last weekend, look, the Niners are far from infallible. They should have lost to Green Bay. I mean, let's be real. Green Bay did everything they could to lose that game. That is the one thing if I'm the Niners, I'm thinking like, okay, with Purdy, how am I feeling about this? And I don't care what anybody says at a press conference. Like you watch the end of that first half, Shanahan was horrified of Purdy. Horrified of him. Like they sat on the ball to kick almost a 50-yard field goal because they were like, we don't want him to make a mistake. I mean, that's something that like you get away with if you can control the game and you're winning the whole game. You can kind of protect them. If Detroit gets up in this game, and that, by the way, I think is the storyline for both these games. Who can get up first? If the Niners get up early, I think they're home free. And the same's true in the AFC game. Like if Baltimore gets up early, then they can run the ball down your throat and they can blitz you like crazy. If the Chiefs get up 10-0 in that game and they have to go away from the run, they're done. They're not winning that football game. Like so, I think that's something to watch this weekend. Who gets out? Who gets the first 2-score lead of the weekend? I think that team's in a great position, even more so than normal.
I'll let you go with this, and maybe I'm playing a little bit too much of a psychologist. Okay, but Tyreek Hill yesterday apparently filed a petition for divorce in the court papers in the courts.
He didn't.
And then he and his wife came out on IG. Oh no, everything's all right. We're not getting a divorce. Everything's good. But obviously, the papers saw the legal petition filed in the court, so something was happening.
It's weird.
You have the fire incident. You have Peergate, where his anger,
right.
if he wasn't stopped by his entourage or even his friend, he might have committed a crime against that guy. When it's all said and done, he's also throughout the year had some very inconsistent moments, like against your Chiefs in the first go around, where he basically lost the game all by himself. When Tua threw a beautiful bomb and he had the fumble that led to a touchdown. And so I'm not saying there's a problem. I'm just saying there's some imbalance. And he's got a lot of issues going on personally, and maybe it's affecting him professionally or whatever, but there's a lot going on. And we kind of maybe look at the yards and the personality and the character, and we all get caught up in that part of it. But it's really not going as smooth as you would really think for Tyreek right now.
No, look, I mean, obviously, there's no question. I mean, it's a house fire, which is an unfortunate situation, and then this thing with the divorce. I mean, whether or not it's true, it's bizarre, right? I mean, you have multiple reputable newspapers saying, "Hey, this is happening," and I don't know how you screw that up for the newspaper. I mean, basically, for people who don't know, the way that works is all this stuff is public record, and if you're a reporter, I mean, and you're in covering lifestyle stuff like that, like you occasionally go through those public records just to see if you're missing anything, right? I mean, that's kind of what you do. I mean, Tyreek Hill is not Joe Smith. Like, there's not too many Tyreek Hills out there, right? It's pretty easy to verify. Like, okay, this is the Tyreek Hill, based on who the divorce petition is with. It's very weird. It's very weird. I mean, there's this divorce petition reported by two different reputable companies, and then Tyreek Hill comes out and says, "No, everything's great." Okay. I mean, listen, whatever. I hope it is for him. But yeah, I mean, this has been rough. I mean, this season started, as you mentioned, with the incident on the water there, and then it goes from, and then he, to his credit, had a great year. Then he gets hurt late in the year, couldn't really perform the way we would have liked to probably the last month or so of the season. He has the house fire. Now this is going on. Yeah, I mean, it's been, but look, I mean, also, I mean, Tyreek Hill has not been a stranger throughout his career to situations that he'd like to avoid. Right. Yeah. I mean, the year before the Chiefs won their first Super Bowl in 2019, in fact, that offseason preceding the campaign, I mean, there was an investigation into, whether or not his 3-year-old son at the time, had a broken arm and how that came about. And to be perfectly clear, Hill was never charged with anything. But there was a lot of controversy around that. There were audio tapes. There's just a lot of stuff, and then of course everything that happened with him in college. So he's not a stranger to being under the microscope for reasons that he wished he wasn't. And in this case, it's just bizarre. You don't know. You don't know why. I mean, you got the guy who's involved saying that he's not getting divorced and everything's fine and stay out of his life. Fair enough. And then you have, I believe it was the Miami Herald and the Sun Sentinel saying he's getting divorced. I mean, it's very weird. It's very strange.
Yep. I'm with you there, man. It's crazy. All right. What do you got going on the Sports Illustrated so folks can check you out?
And, so, by the way, Sports Illustrated still up and running despite the reports. It's been interesting.
I know. I read your note, and I'm glad you're surviving for now, at least.
For now, we'll see what happens. I think it'll be all right. I think it'll work out fine. But I know there's been some, I'll call it erroneous reporting. So listen, I actually have a piece coming out next week that I worked my ass off on for over 6 months. It is the top 50 most influential teams in NFL history, and for that piece, we put together a blue ribbon panel of more than 30 people who have covered the league for, in some cases, more than 50 years. And we're also talking people who have been involved directly in the league, like Bill Polian, Ernie Accorsi, Louis Riddick's in there, Peter King, Albert Breer, John McClain. I mean, on and on and on and on. All voted on it, came with the top 50 teams. And for every team in the Super Bowl era, and then a few before that who have living members, I interviewed players of major note for the piece. And for the Dolphins, I interviewed Nat Moore. I interviewed Larry Zonka. That piece is going to come out in 5 parts starting on Monday, and it's going to run all the way through Friday next week, 10 teams per day. And then in the magazine, it is a 16-page spread. It is one of the biggest spreads in the history of the company, and it is cut down significantly in the magazine. The magazine is more of a snackable Cliff Notes version, like 4,000 or 5,000 words. The main piece is about 25,000 words online. So read it, check it out. I don't normally show for something that's hard, but like a lot of work went into it. And I got to say, if I can, it's really cool. It's really, like, if you want to talk about 72 Dolphins, ask Larry Zonka, because he gave me his word for word thoughts on that team. So it was really a hell of an ambitious project, and I think it came out great.
Good stuff. I look forward to hearing from Larry and Nat Moore. Yeah. That's my favorite Dolphin receiver of all time. Everybody would pick the obvious names, but for me, it was Nat Moore. Yeah. I thought he was always the true professional from beginning to end.
He was great.
And clutch, dude. You could always count on Nat Moore, man. All right, follow him on Twitter at Matt Verderame and catch his work there at Sports Illustrated. Matt, as always, thank you, my brother. Appreciate you.
Hey, you got it. Take care.
Thank you, sir. There you go, Matt Verderame. All right.
This is the Big O Show.